Good morning. This is Mayor Lester Preston, and welcome to today's edition of From the Mayor's Desk. I'm joined today by George Karatzia, who is the commander of the Disabled American Veterans DAV Chapter 74, located here in Freehold, New Jersey. And George is joining us today to talk to us about a program that the local DAV is going to run in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. George, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Why don't we start? Tell us a little bit about the ceremony. Let's start. Tell us about DAV and what the chapter does in general.
Incredible group of men, and the whole purpose to be a member of the DAV is you could be in any of the branches, and as someone who has had some disabilities during the military. But most importantly, what do we do? And we try to raise as much money as possible. We'll stand out there in front of Sam's or one of the farm places where they sell, bushes and branches, and people are always so generous to us. And where does this money go? It doesn't go to us. We don't buy jackets with it, but instead we help other veterans, their families, putting food on the table, helping them pay the rent. And it's a real struggle, homelessness. So what we do is help, and when we get to say our treasury goes over $10,000, it just seems some of the members get annoyed. That means we're not helping our veterans fast enough.
Right.
So we have a purpose. It's not a boys' club. And that's what really makes me proud to say I'm a commander of such a group.
What a great group. It sounds like you guys are doing a lot of great work. And I understand on May 23rd, 2020, you are holding a very special ceremony in recognition of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that program?
The Vietnam veteran, as myself, I was a combat infantry soldier in Vietnam with the 1st Cavalry. And when you came home, it was an angry time, and so what you went, and it was such a horrible place and time and destruction that you came home yourself wounded. Yeah, you look good when you come home, but somehow you bring the war back with you in your mind, and you have this other battle going on as powerful as the war itself. And then you're confronted with a society that's angry at you and disrespecting of you. And it was a tough time, and trying to make sense of it didn't make sense. And so you just go on with your life, and so there's always that bitterness of, what did we do wrong? We went to serve our country. And so here we are, 50 years later, and the Department of Defense has a program encouraging other military organizations as ours to take it upon ourselves and have some kind of program. Well, we don't want just some kind of program. We want to do it in the most dignified, most powerful way, and that is that we have approached the wonderful parishioners of the First Presbyterian Church in Freehold. They have a beautiful historic church. I believe it's a 175-year-old church. And they are honored that we've asked them. It seats over 500 people. And the way our program is going to be, the way we want it, that when the veteran arrives with his family, well, the veteran will be asked to stay outside, and his family will go inside. They'll be given American flags. And once they're in, at a certain time, the program will begin. The doors will open. The color guard will come in, followed by all the veterans to the cheers and applause of their family and friends. We'll have the national anthem. The flags, will be posted, and at that point, our program will start. But very important that we can't forget, because, we're veterans, and what does that mean? We're the lucky ones. We came home. Sorry.
Understand.
But also those who didn't come home. And we have to honor them. There's a ceremony called the Missing Man. It's a formal setting. There'll be a place setting here. It'll be nicely done. There'll be an American flag. And the ceremony is to honor those that didn't come home, that empty chair. Just like in every home, that empty chair at the kitchen will forever be empty. And we're going to honor them. So as our program will continue, we will start to bring it up with patriotic songs. We're happy that we have an Irish tenor, Damien McDermott, and we have a beautiful voice, a Broadway voice, and Athi Haliotis. And we'll have also a choir, hopefully from one of the schools, helping us with the different military melodies. And at the end of this program, that each veteran will be given this wonderful, beautiful veteran's pin that is given to us by the Department of Defense. But each veteran, personally, each one by themselves will be thanked, saluted for their service. And I believe that when they leave, that their chins are going to be up, their chests are going to be out, and their families are going to be really very proud of them. And this is the purpose, just to give them, after all these years, their rightful welcome home.
And that's a great point, George. I remember in my early teens, 15, 16, watching the veterans coming home from the Iraqi War, coming down Main Street in Freehold Borough with yellow ribbons on the trees and crowds lining the street, welcoming home our veterans. And clearly that was something that never happened with the Vietnam veterans. And irrespective of how you feel about the wars, whether you're pro or against, I think it's always important that we recognize the contribution that our military families, the individuals and their families make for our country. Oftentimes it goes unsaid and unnoticed, and I think this is a great opportunity, particularly for the Vietnam veterans, to recognize the contributions in their service to our country. We're able to do the things we do because of our veterans and our current military, and it's something I certainly know in Freehold Township that's very important to us in terms of recognizing them and honoring their duty and their service. I understand you have a special keynote speaker, your former commander, Mr. Colonel Mark Gatanas.
Well,
you told me some great things about Mark. I'll ask you to repeat them for us today.
I was in Vietnam. The person that has your life in their hands is your company commander. I was with the 1st Cavalry, and they call it the first team because when something bad happens in war, they're the first to go in. And is your company commander. And hopefully you have a good one, someone who will do his best to get you safe out of harm's way. And my company commander, his name was Mark Gatanas. And the first time I met him, he came up, he says, my name is Captain Mark Gatanas. He said, I'm the captain of Delta Company. And he told us, I'm going to do my best to get you out of here alive. And after he finished talking to us, I started talking to him, but he was Greek and I was Greek, and so we sort of had a conversation. Really, where are you from? New York? New York, really? What school did you go to? We went to the same parochial school.
That's interesting.
Yes, and I said, wait a minute, I had a Harry Gatanas in my class. He says, that was my brother. And we talk about the smallest of smallest worlds. This was absolutely incredible. And he proved to be quite a great leader, someone that you would follow to the end. And he was wounded on the battlefield. So easy for him, he got on that helicopter and like 99% would have done, but he refused. And for 2 days, medics were working on him. And then we saw him getting onto a helicopter and we thought that the old man's going back. He didn't. He did recon. He went to see what would be the safest route for us to take. and that's why we respect him. He retired after 24 years as a full-bird colonel, and at that time he was offered a star general, and at the same time President Reagan needed someone with his background to become the diplomatic advisor in Lebanon, which was a real hot spot at that time. And when Civil War broke out, he became the military advisor. He got wounded again in Lebanon. And he retired from civil service, and he went to private, and for him it had a happy ending. But I also want to tell you about his brother Harry, because he has this pretty interesting life too. Harry was a two-star general, and Harry got his second star during Desert Storm, and he was in charge of, if everyone remembers, the logistics and how quickly and efficient everything went over. He was in charge of that. I got a chance to meet Harry some years later at Fort Meade, and it was nice. We talked about the girls that broke our hearts in 5th grade. But it was, and I'm really fortunate that I have Colonel Mark Lieutenant in my life, because he's an incredible man, and again, our paths have been crossing, and I'm thankful for that.
That's fantastic. The event is on May 23rd, 2020, and tell me about, how did somebody, is the event open to the public?
The event is open to everyone, and this is not only for veterans who served in Vietnam. This is for any veteran during the Vietnam era from 1955 to 1975. So any veteran who has served, regardless of where you served, that you are considered a veteran of the Vietnam era, and you would also be part of this ceremony. Your families are all welcome, and all we ask is that we do have an email, and it's dav74freehold@gmail.com. Okay, it's dav74freehold@gmail.com. This way, we would hopefully get some sense of how many people are coming. The good people at First Presbyterian Church, if they would be, they seat 500 people, but there's more than 500. They really are. They basically said, well, the overflow, we could have them outside. We could put speakers out there, and everyone is welcome.
Fantastic. Any other things that you'll have available for the veterans? I understand you're going to have a veterans benefits kiosk that I'm sure will provide some much needed advice and information to our veterans. Can you talk briefly about that?
Yeah, this is important also because, Abraham Lincoln said, to take care of those who bore war, their family, and so here we depend on the VA. And some of the veterans will say, hey, promises made, promises broken. The people that work there are wonderful, but the veteran really has to fight for their benefits, nor do they even understand or realize what's due them.
What's available, sure.
I mean, if I tell you there was, from World War II, we had a veteran. At the time, I believe he was like 92 years old, and he was a Seabee who saw, almost like hand-to-hand combat, and he wasn't aware all these years what was due him. And well, we went to fight for him and his right, and he was finally was given his due 100% disability. Now, unfortunately for him, that if he would have gotten when he was supposed to, his kids would have went to college for free and other benefits due him. Here's a guy who, who at the CB at the time was, hand-to-hand combat. So, but this is what we do. We have two incredible fellows that are our service officers. We are ready, prepared to help you fight for your disabilities and whatever is due you. And that will be available to you after our program, that you'll be able to get their contact information. They'll get back to you, and they'll help guide you through the proper process. And believe me, this is what the DAV is all about, helping our veterans. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to all be proud of this program.
Sounds like a fantastic program, George. We wish you nothing but the best of luck. I want to touch base on one last thing you had talked about. You guys are out on the street corners basically begging for pennies to fund your programs. If the residents of Freehold Township were looking to make donations to the Disabled American Veterans Fund, Chapter 74, how would they go about doing that? Is there a place that we could mail checks or make donations other than seeing you maybe in front of Walmart's? We have our meetings at the Elks Club. It doesn't belong to us. Okay.
And so our mail seems to get a little bit late coming to us. But certainly, I'd be glad to give you my address. The checks could be made out straight to DAV Chapter 74.
Okay.
And I'd be glad to give you my address.
However you want to get the checks, so you can have them sent to the municipal building and we can get them to you?
That would be fine.
Okay, that would be great. If anyone is interested in donating to this worthy organization, feel free to send your checks to the municipal building here in Freehold Township, and we will make sure they get to George and his organization. George, thank you very much for your time today.
Hey, thank you for giving us
What
the
a
time.
great program. We're looking forward to a very successful event. Thank you for your service and congratulations on everything you're doing.
Thank you so
we
much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.